Well, hello and welcome back to the Book Nook, a different Book Nook. I had an invitation from a hotel to have a free night and treated myself to some travel and had a little getaway. I'm refreshed, had a great workout this morning, and if you saw my Nourish video on enchiladas on the road, I had that here in my hotel room last night and had a really, really nice evening. It's chilly outside, though you may be able to pick up on the light. It's really sunny out there. I slept really well and glad I had the time to do this, and that I also brought some work to do and get caught up on some projects. If you saw my previous video, what I'm doing right now is I am reading and sharing extra tips and resources for anyone who is facing hip replacement surgery, maybe has already received hip replacement, perhaps you're a caregiver, perhaps you are someone that might think that you have joint replacement in your future. My name is Tiffany Anderson. I am the founder of Anderson Therapeutics. I wrote a resource guide. It's called Butternut to Bionic. It's a resource guide for hip replacement surgery. I wrote this from the patient perspective because back in 2009 to 2011, I went on this medical mystery tour. Never figured out what in the world happened. The Butternut to Bionic, that is in the very first video that talked about just kind of how that whole wackiness of I experienced jaundice, liver failure, heart failure, all of this crazy stuff, and wound up with the dual hip replacement. I'm bionic. And if you have metal in your body, then I feel like you're bionic too. We adjust to a new normal of what it feels like to have metal in our body, and some of us have more metal, more artificial parts than others. I'm very grateful that this procedure was available to me. It was challenging to recover from, and that's why I put together this resource guide, because something like this that actually addresses healthcare, healing in a more holistic, non-intrusive approach is what I was looking for. And it was absent when I became ill. And in the previous video, when I talked about chapter 1, and it's all about putting together your medical team, the partnership, the teamwork approach of a medical team, I shared that I have a free PDF with suggested questions for your doctor, and this could apply to any medical visit. Check out that video. I will put a card at the end of this video so you could link over to that and download the free PDF. As I finish up just summarizing this chapter, I want to touch briefly on anyone out there who may be aging alone, living alone, or perhaps are also a caregiver and might not have a lot of support when they're managing chronic conditions, facing a surgery, thinking about recovery time. Now, of course, there's home health aides. There's all sorts of other outside sources. If you have those, if you can afford those, and certainly if you have friends, family, anyone in your world that can step in and help you through this process, that's wonderful. For anyone out there who is a caregiver, to investigate and truly understand how invasive hip replacement is, any type of joint replacement, honestly, knee replacement, shoulder, jaw, there's all sorts of different ways that a person has to go through that process of recovery that takes quite a bit of time and effort. When I experienced joint replacement, I was very proactive and took a very active approach in my partnership with my surgeon, with everyone on my medical team, and wanted to do my best, knowing that in the hospital and in the doctor's office, there's only so much they can do there. Everything else was going to be what I was going to be following up with, as far as following doctor's orders, following the physical therapy. You are taught, you are given resources, guides, tools, all those type of things, though the application of that, that's on us as patients. And joint replacement, I hadn't, I was blown away with the amount of pain. And the only thing I could compare it to, and given that we're all different, how we perceive pain, how we feel pain, how we manage pain, pain is so personal. And having a really deep dive conversation with your medical team about how you manage pain already, how you are handling any type, I mean, whether it's dental pain, whether it's chronic pain, whether it's from an injury, those type of things. You know your body better than anyone. And when you're going into something that perhaps is incredibly new, and the thought of joint replacement and what that entails with your body, those are really intense conversations to have. And be prepared that it may be more overwhelming than you think. It might be more than your caregivers, any help. And if you don't have help, it could be problematic. I didn't wind up having the help that I thought I was going to. And I was also more self-sufficient than I gave myself credit for. There's a balance there in whether, you know, people are really ready to step up to the plate and see you go through something horrific and life-changing, or whether they check out and they're not present. Those things can happen. Taking care of yourself and knowing a wide variety of resources, because think about, even if you've got wonderful caregivers lined up and then an emergency happens, having a backup plan, even if it's going to a rehabilitation center. Those are things to consider. And having patience. That is the last couple of paragraphs in chapter 1, is having a lot of patience. The recovery time for this procedure, even if you have anterior placement, with both of my hip replacements, I have posterior placement, and on my right side, I mentioned this in the other videos, the recovery didn't go as well. There was an internal fracture, and at the 6-week mark, they had to go back in and do a revision. Now, revision surgeries are common, even if you've had your joints for a little while. So that's where this is a lifelong, this is making friends with new bionic parts, really embracing, getting to know them, understand how they feel, how they move, how they don't move, and doing your very best to, of course, recover, heal, get back to as, you know, high of a quality of mobility that you can, and then to prevent future surgeries. That's where taking care of these joints is a lot more work than many people understand, especially people who are caregivers. And for anyone out there who's been living with chronic conditions for a while, you may have the feeling like I do, and share in the contents below if you feel frustrated and a little bit overwhelmed at times. That I'm the type of person where I'm not looking for pity. I want to be heard. I want to be seen. I want to, you know, empathy and compassion are great, though, you know, when you deal with the same thing over and over again, then, you know, it can feel on this end it's a broken record. And certainly for anyone hearing, it can feel like a broken record. Having a proactive approach and a plan helps to minimize the repetitiveness, which is honestly a reality that managing chronic conditions and living with joint replacement, it's basically designing a whole new style of living. And I'm aging on my own. I didn't believe even 10 years ago that I would be in the situation I am now. Many things have changed. The world changes, life changes, and I am really enjoying my freedom and my independence. Just in the last couple of years, the amount of travel that I've been able to do, I honestly didn't believe I would ever have the financial freedom, let alone the physical mobility at age 60, that I would be able to take on the challenges that I have recently. And that has been a great celebration for me, which encourages me to move forward into this next chapter. Turning 60 this year, milestone. Loved it. Had a wonderful birthday. I spent 2 weeks in Tokyo with my grown son. We explored. Did my body cope as well with the time change and sleeping and everything? No, I didn't do as well as I had hoped. I had a whole preparation set up the months previous to get me ready to go, and that certainly helped. I'm glad that I did my best and was very happy that the hotel had a traditional Japanese onsen with hot soaks and steam rooms and saunas and cold plunges, and that was miraculous for me. I am a morning person. I work out every morning. That helps me get past the creakiness, the aches of not only my artificial joints, but I have osteoarthritis and I have Hashimoto's disease, so that affects my mood. It feels stressful, all of those things. Okay, let me summarize. This is all about building those relationships with your caregivers, and it starts with building a relationship with yourself and with all of the medical situations that you're dealing with. And maybe it's only one, maybe it's a lot. Having that relationship just with you, sitting down, looking at that and embracing it, because chronic conditions, they don't go away, and oftentimes they progress and they can get a little worse. Preparing for that and facing it head on gives us a sense of control and is empowering. That's where my recovery guide and all of the tips and tools that I have at my website, andersontherapeutics.com, all of the resources there are free. I will put that link in the description below. If you go to my website, there's going to be my 3 key concepts to improved health. And those are the philosophies, the foundation that I have put together and that I have been living since 2009, and some of the elements I've been living for many years. I've been working in the field of health since 1996, and as I have changed, of course, from who I was in my 20s, 30s, and 40s is definitely different than the woman I am today at 60. And I'm honoring and I'm embracing that change and looking forward to a future, because as long as I stay present and I'm taking good care of myself to the best of my ability, even on the days where it just feels like crap and things feel like they're falling apart, every bit of effort, and maybe that's just laying under the covers and having some tea and a good cry, every bit of effort that I give to myself and that you give to yourself prepares us for the future and those next moments. The next chapter is going to be all about preparing for surgery. Now that will start on page 28. for those of you who are reading along. And there's all sorts of free excerpts of this and pages on Amazon, on my website, if you want to check this out. I published this in 2016. It was nominated for the AARP Purpose Prize. I'm very proud of this book. And it was based on the journals and all of the tools that I was using during a really scary time. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. I hope this was useful. Please give this a thumbs up if you found it helpful, and be sure and check the links below and check out that PDF to talk to your doctor with those questions that I put together. See you next time.